Hey there, Bourbon Real Talk. I am here with Sammy, who has a 1,000-bottle collection. You guys love to see the Bunker Raid videos, so if you want to see it, stick around. All right, Sammy. Thank you so much for inviting me to your bunker.
Anytime.
You've got a lovely room here. And you, too, are a content creator.
Correct.
Yeah, and your podcast is Bourbon and Booze.
Bourbon and Booze.
That is awesome. How long have you been doing that?
Since 2017.
Oh, wow. So you've been in the game longer than I have.
Probably.
Yeah. We started in May of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So what got you interested in doing a podcast?
What really got me is I'm in education. And so for several years I was working in Louisville during the summers and can't go there without trying bourbon.
Sure.
Started collecting bottles. My wife came out. We went Evan Williams and Jim Beam and all the stuff and just started muling stuff home, and it just cascaded from there. And we really fell in love with craft distilleries, so we try to hit every craft distillery we ever find.
Gotcha. And so that's interesting because, to be honest, in 2017, I didn't know what a podcast was. Mm-hmm. I went to lunch with somebody and they were like, oh, you should listen to this podcast. I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's an app on your phone. And so I get my phone out. They show me how to do it. And it was probably a year after that I decided, hey, maybe this is something that I should do. Because I'd been doing educational videos inside of whiskey groups, but nothing that was actually formal. And so you were kind of an early adopter for the whiskey space, right?
Early adopter, very few listeners. So.
Yeah. It's
a long struggle.
It's hard to build that audience for sure. Right. So I'm looking around at your collection, and we're gonna show some B-roll video of all of this to everybody. And you've got a lot of really awesome bottles of bourbon, but you also have a lot of bottles of scotch.
I do. I think scotch is my biggest love.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even know where that came on, what that light switch was like, but I just fell in love with scotch. And then my wife and I, we travel extensively. We've been to Europe. My kids actually live in the UK, so my youngest son and I went to Scotland and toured that area, and then I just started collecting, and then became members of the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, and it just started escalating from there. And most of my scotch actually does come from Europe. I just mule it over.
Right.
Oh, I shouldn't say that.
No. It's for anybody out there listening. Sometimes the word mule is a trigger word for state ABCs to identify illegal bootlegging operations. You were totally allowed to bring bottles of whiskey home with you whenever you travel. So nothing illegal.
In fact, we've got all the TSA rules and the government import rules, and so we know all that, so we take that to the max.
To the max,
yes.
Right, yeah, because there are limits, and different airlines have different limit requirements and all that stuff. I personally have violated the limit by an extreme amount, at least once. Didn't know that there were limits. I just thought, like, if the bag's checked, it's fine, and then later found out what the rules were and thought, Jesus Christ, what if I'd lost all those bottles? That would have been terrible. So, how many bottles do you think that you have overall?
Well, that varies because in this room, I probably have about 850 to 900.
Okay.
And then I have my oldest son, or my youngest son. I don't know why I keep calling my oldest son. My youngest son, he's got a house on the property. He's got a bunch that are part of the collection. Mm-hmm. And then I have a mini bar, so to speak, in London where my daughter lives, and she's got part of the collection. So it's kind of spread out, but in this room, I think it's right around 900.
Okay, and overall, how many do you think you have?
Just over 1,000.
Just over 1,000. Yeah. Wow, that is a good bit. What percentage would you say is Scotch versus?
I think about 15 to 20% is non-whiskey. Okay. It's going to be vodkas, rums, tequilas, liqueurs, all sorts of stuff like that. And then probably it's a good 50-50.
Okay.
50% Scotch and 50% American whiskey or bourbon.
Gotcha. And everybody always wants to know what we're drinking whenever we do these bunker raids. So tell the people what you served me. So
I served you Lavender Conspiracy from Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. It's a cask strength. I think I said it was 114. 14, yeah. 14. Yeah. It's a Isla. Mm-hmm. I don't know the distillery because they do it all in codes, so
Right.
I can look it up. But and it was a 17-year-old.
Okay.
And then what I'm drinking is a 10-year-old In the Mood, also from Scotch Malt Whiskey. It's a Speyside at 122 proof.
Gotcha.
And this is just a club out of Edinburgh. Lots of really famous people. Heather Green was one of their original blenders or tasters and for bottling. But all they do is they collect single barrels from all over, including America. They do bourbons too. But you have to be a member to purchase.
Gotcha. That's pretty interesting. And for those of you who don't know, Heather Green is now part of Milam and Green,
Yes.
which is a Texas-based whiskey producer. She does some blending with some out-of-state stuff, kind of interesting things, some finishes, having that background over there in Scotland. So I am empty. What do you think I should try next?
Well, if you want to stay with Scotch, we could go to a nice.
Once we go
Speyside,
Scotch, I
yeah.
think we stay there.
If you want to stay smoky,
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
something you guys can all get here is Talisker Storm.
Okay.
It's a nice smoky but light Scotch.
So I went one time in Louisville. I went to a oyster bar, and I didn't realize this, but smoky scotches go really well with oysters.
Oh, yes.
And so we had been drinking bourbon for days, and I was kind of bourboned out, and they had a special where you could get a Talisker scotch paired with oysters on the half shell, and it was like this really amazing, like smoky, briny kind of experience. It was really good.
So my wife is really into doing that pairing. Every time we have a group here, we have a couple whiskey clubs that we're part of, and usually we meet here, but also whenever we have friends over and stuff, we always try to pair. So she'll have a plate of whatever food with the whiskey that goes to that there.
Yeah.
And so people can just pair around. And smoky Scotch goes good with barbecue and seafood.
Yeah. So what would you say is your most prized possession bottle-wise?
Oh. I have some really expensive stuff, and I'm about ready to retire, and that's what it's saved for. Some Macallans and stuff. But my most prized is there was a blended whiskey out of Greenland. It's a Scotch whiskey, but they brought in Greenland glacier ice, 3,000-year-old glacier ice, and it's called Arctic Velvet. And it was absolutely fabulous, and I still have a bottle left, but I think COVID destroyed the company, which really sucks. But you cannot find this anywhere. I think I bought it for like in Greenland for like maybe $100, but now it's running for several thousands.
Right.
And so that's my most prized because I made connections with the owner, and he lived in Switzerland, and we corresponded back, and he sent me bottles when I was in Europe, and it's just a great thing. But like I said, I think COVID got that company. Took it.
Hate to hear that. So that's your most prized possession, but it sounds like it's a combination of story and value. What's your most valuable bottle?
I have the David Carson's Macallan. It's the third expression from a 3-part series that my wife bought me, and it is probably the most expensive. Scotch is definitely going to be my most expensive. I have Macallan, and I have the Grand Cru from Glenfiddich behind you. Okay. And both of those are running several thousand.
Several thousand? Yeah. If you had to give a value for your overall collection, do you have any idea?
I actually know that because I was talking to your insurance guy.
Oh, okay.
We're working things out. The value in this room right now is just around $40,000. Okay. So not too bad because we do buy a lot of low-end craft distill stuff, but
right. It doesn't have big secondary market value, but it's to your palate, so you like it.
Yeah.
So that's your most expensive, your most prized possession. What would you say is your favorite, like, easy sipper? That you would, if somebody is trying to get into Scotch, you're like, this is the one that's, you know.
See, that's hard to say because Scotch.
Or it doesn't have to be one. Give me 2 or 3. Yeah.
But just Scotch is a generic term because you have Islays and Speysides and Highlands and Lowlands. Campbellton, yeah. Campbelltons are really hard to find here in America, so if you could get those are great. But if you're going to just start into Scotch, I would suggest a Speyside or a Highland. Something without a lot of smoke, a lot of peat. Speysides are really floral and kind of fruity, so they're nice and usually lower proof.
Yeah.
Me, I like the high proof Octomore, which is probably my favorite. I got one bottle left, and it's hard to find.
Yeah.
I knew I was a bigger Bourbon Real Talk fan than you.
How do you know that?
Well, because I don't just use a prideful goat, Glenn. I got an official Bourbon Real Talk tumbler.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I got this Bourbon Real Talk lanyard to carry my whiskey glass in.
Oh, well, speaking of whiskey glasses, do you have one of these?
No, I don't.
Rocks glass.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, official.
Well, I love my wife, and I bought her this official Whiskey Wife flask from Bourbon Real Talk.
Well, that's cute and everything, but I got my wife one of these.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
You can just add your own liquor, and it's an actual cocktail right there in a jar.
Me and my wife like to make cocktails, so we got this simple syrup off
Oh,
the
do
website.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you and your wife have one of these? This is an official sticker. You can only get these on the website.
No, but I do have these official coasters that have the Bourbon Real Talk logo on them, and I'm representing.
Well, while you're representing those little coasters of yours, I've got an aroma kit.
Do you?
Yeah, so I can smell literally everything in bourbon. Everything.
Well, I don't have that, but I do have this sample box that I keep all my samples in because I'm part of the community and I share samples.
Yeah, but do you have Glen toppers that are officially Bourbon Real Talk?
I don't have that, but I do have this large whiskey carrying case for my glasses so that I don't break them.
See, I knew you had that. That's why I have this, the smaller version, okay? It packs more easily into your suitcase. Don't have to mess with that big old thing, okay?
Suitcase, that's for lamos. Check this thing out. I have a Bourbon Real Talk bottle carrying bag. You can't beat that.
I don't know if I can because...
And on top of that, I have a Bourbon Real Talk t-shirt. I'm the bigger fan.
Oh, I can beat that. Is it extra schmedium?
No, I don't have an extra medium.
Ha! Extra schmedium.
You might be the bigger fan. You win.
I knew it.
So whether you're a Bourbon Real Talk super fan or simply looking for quality whiskey swag, head over to bourbonrealtalk.com today.
What is your most prized bourbon possession?
My most prize is there's a local distillery in Fort Worth called Acre.
Okay.
And pretty good relations with them. And so whenever they come out with a new expression, I don't have to worry. They'll pull one aside for me. Well, they did a 12-bottle run of Tsar, which is a Russian Imperial Stout finish on their bourbon. And they gave me one of those 12 bottles, and it's sitting in there, and it's fabulous.
Okay.
So
you got to try it, but you also
I got to try it, and I was giving him some stuff that I had found on the road, and he's like, "Hey, I've been saving this for you. Here you go. There's only 12 bottles, so don't drink it all."
That's awesome.
And it was really nice.
Yeah. That's really what it's all about, relationship-wise, is forming those relationships. So you've traveled all over the world. You've been to distilleries. If I were going to ask you, what is one of your number one memories where you had this unexpected connection with somebody because of your passion for whiskey? What comes to mind?
Oh, I would say Tony at Acre. I mean, he and I just hit it off right away.
Yeah.
He was a guy that just, my wife and I are in there, we're trying some flights, and he just walks up and starts talking to us, and we start talking to him about our love for whiskey, especially Texas whiskey, because at the time it was
still struggling. Yeah.
And so
it's doing better now, but yeah.
It is. We were talking about that, and he started pulling stuff out, and he had this. It was hilarious because he was so excited about this new bourbon they were bringing out, which is the Long Hair Jim. But at the time, it was in a barrel, and he wanted to try it, and he went to give me a sample and couldn't get that bunghole open. And next thing I know, he's with a hammer and goes, "I'm going to get this open because you have got to try this." And it was hilarious.
Yeah. He couldn't get it open.
So he ended up giving me, Still Austin had gifted him a bottle of their special release. And so he gave that to me. He says, "It's the same mash bill. You're going to love it."
Oh.
And it's great.
Yeah, and Still Austin sponsors the podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're big fans.
I'm very happy with the move that Still Austin's making and some of that barrel releases and the higher proofs, because when they first started out, it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you. We are very focused on community and connection. Since you've been involved in the whiskey enthusiast world for so long, could you tell the audience is there any part of that has made your life richer? Maybe some connections that you've made that have changed the trajectory of your life?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a really big proponent for veterans. I'm a veteran myself. I served in the first Gulf War. And so I really promote veteran distilleries that are veteran-owned or produce stuff for veterans. And I'm a member of the Whiskey Warriors, which is a veteran whiskey organization. And so anytime that we can do stuff for them, for, any type of veteran families have lost lives or whatever, I'm all in that. And that's the connection I make. If it's a veteran distillery, I'll go 200 miles on my way to hit it. Yeah.
So if you had any advice for the whiskey enthusiast out there that's watching this, what would you encourage people?
I encourage people to drink what you like. Mm-hmm. Don't chase until you are fully understanding what your palate is like and what you really like. If you just jump in to chase the hunt for those allocated bottles
for Buffalo Trace
or anything, and try everything. I like Heaven Hill and I like Buffalo Trace, but there is so much out there, especially here in Texas. If you're in Texas, there are distilleries you would never even know are there. I sat down with Rex Williams once, and we were talking from Whiskey Tribe, and I mentioned Flanagan's, which is literally 40 minutes from the Crowder Barrel. Never ever heard of it. And I'm like, you have got to get out because there's so much out there. When we travel, my wife's I'm driving, she's got her app open, whiskey's near me.
Right.
And as we're driving, she's like, okay, there's one here. Or distilleries near me because we're gin and vodka fans too. So
that makes it fun. Well, I appreciate you coming on. For those of you at home, if this is your first time watching the show, I'd love to tell you a little bit about our show philosophy. We are all about bringing people together around whiskey. And that's something that's just personally important to me because I had a brother that served in the military and he got out because of some medical issues. He was honorably discharged. But he was badly addicted to opioids, and in 2014 he took his life. And I was looking for ways to try to, create community and connection, because in the aftermath and talking with his friends, I realized he had lost connection from the world around him and probably felt like the world didn't need him here in the future. And I've just found that since whiskey brings people together, if I can get you connected to whiskey, the whiskey will do the rest of the job and get you connected to others so that you know that you have a place and there are people there that are looking for you to be there in the future. And so that's a big vision of ours. But as I started to try and build community, I did see the dark side of the online enthusiast community. It's not just in whiskey, but we like to call them trolls. And in whiskey, we call them whiskey trolls. Yes. And there are people out there that will be hateful to you online and try to make themselves feel and seem superior and make you feel inferior. And that inspired us to start Bourbon Real Talk Community because we don't allow troll-like behavior in there. But it also made me realize that if those people can hate you even though you're strangers to each other, there's nothing that keeps me from loving you even though we don't really know each other. And that's why I end the podcast the same way every week, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you were unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that I love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. A whiskey troll is a person who seeks negative attention and uses contrarian attitudes to derail civil discussion in online forums. They communicate in ways they never would face-to-face because they're keyboard warriors. Their only goal is to make other people feel inferior.
Hey guys, I'm new here. I just got my first Blanton's.
And trust me, you probably paid way too much.
I don't care much about the Blantons, but nice.
There's no way that she didn't buy that at secondary. Idiot.
Oh, I know how you got that bottle.
So, are you sick and tired of the whiskey trolls running your fun online? Well, that's why we started Bourbon Real Talk Community. Congratulations. Let me know what you think when you open it up.
Hey, welcome to the group. Let me send you over a sample of Blanton's Gold and straight from the barrel. See how you like those.
I remember back to my first bottle of Blanton's. It was the birthday to my son, and we enjoy it every year on his birthday. Congrats.
So if you're looking to connect with some people online who aren't, head over to facebook.com and join Bourbon Real Talk Community today.